This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, Cuba faces an energy meltdown as U.S. pressure intensifies. Following the capture of Nicolas Maduro, President Trump signs an executive order threatening tariffs on any country supplying oil to Havana, leaving the island with fuel reserves estimated at under 3 weeks. From the Caribbean to California, street tensions are boiling over. A citywide tactical alert remains in effect across Los Angeles after a second night of violent clashes between police and immigration protesters outside the Federal Detention Center as the Ice Out movement gains momentum. A war of words in the Middle East escalates into a terror label. Iran formally designates European armed forces as terrorist groups after the EU blacklists the IRGC. Iranian lawmakers don military uniforms, accusing Europe of blind obedience to Washington. A fragile ceasefire teeters after deadly airstrikes. The U.S. brokered truce hangs by a thread following one of the bloodiest days since it began. Despite the limited reopening of the Rafah crossing for the wounded, violence continues to surge. Global turmoil raises alarms for the Philippine economy. The Senate is monitoring rising geopolitical risks as oil prices face potential hikes. Senator Win Gatchalian calls for an inquiry into how tensions with Iran could hit Filipino consumers. A viral road rage incident sparks a government crackdown. The LTO issues show-cause orders after motorists block a fire truck in Cavite. The viral video has triggered public outrage over delayed emergency response. And a K-pop icon steps into a national role. Blackpink's Lisa is named as the new face of Thai tourism, unveiled as the amazing Thailand ambassador to promote the country worldwide. I'm Carlo de la Peña. Newsline World starts now. For our news, a total energy collapse is looming in Cuba as the Trump administration tightens a new strategic vice outside the island. Following the successful capture of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, President Trump has signed an executive order threatening aggressive tariffs on any nation providing oil to Havana, leaving the country with less than 3 weeks of fuel reserves. Jean Domingo has the story.
The streets of Havana have been transformed into vast stationary parking lots under the shadow of the capital. Long lines of cars and motorcycles stretch for blocks, with some drivers reporting waits of more than 27 hours for just a few liters of gasoline. For the island's 10 million inhabitants, 12-hour-plus daily blackouts have become the new normal as the electrical grid nears total failure.
En esta cola ya llevamos ahora aproximadamente 27 horas. Han entrado 2 pipas, han surtido el cupé cada 12 horas, cosa que no hacen con los cupés de ticket ni los cupés del pueblo. El gobierno está recogiendo dólares por doquier. Nos están obligando nosotros los choferes a comprar la gasolina en dólares. Y todo va a llegar hasta un límite porque nosotros no ganamos en dólares.
This Havana siege is a result of a January 29 executive order declaring a national emergency regarding Cuba. The decree establishes a process to impose heavy tariffs on countries like Mexico that sell or provide oil to the island. While Mexico has historically provided humanitarian aid in the form of oil, shipments have effectively ground to a halt as Mexico City weighs the risk of U.S. retaliation.
I think we're going to work a deal with Cuba. I think, we'll be kind. We have a situation that's very bad for Cuba. They have no money, they have no oil. Venezuela, they lived off Venezuelan money and oil, and none of that's coming down.
The White House justifies the move by labeling Cuba an extraordinary threat, accusing the regime of hosting Russian intelligence and providing safe haven for terrorist groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel took to social media to accuse the U.S. of attempting to suffocate the island's economy, which has already endured over 65 years of blockade. The impact on the ground is devastating. Public transportation has slowed to a crawl, and the prices for private rides are skyrocketing as drivers struggle to source fuel.
Llevo más de 26 horas en la cola de la gasolina. Al tanque de la moto mía le caben 16 litros que es, no sé, 3 días o 4 si trabajando. Eso no, 3 días o todo reventar. Y este tema de la gasolina en dólares es fatal porque a nosotros no nos pagan en dólares.
Experts estimate that Cuba currently has only 15 to 20 days of oil reserves left. Without a new shipment, the entire country faces a catastrophic shutdown of transportation, water distribution, and food refrigeration system. This high-stakes gamble represents a central test of President Trump's national security strategy in the Western Hemisphere. As the clock ticks down on Cuba's fuel reserves, the world is watching to see if this real blockade will force a deal and trigger a massive humanitarian crisis. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Jane Domingo, SMNI News.
Energy crisis hits Ukraine. Kyiv residents took to the streets, lighting bonfires and sharing meals as much of the city remained in darkness amid ongoing power outages. Almar Forsuelo has the story.
From the Place du Palais Royal to the shadow of the Louvre, the French capital echoed with chants of Frexit's peace on Saturday. Thousands of demonstrators led by Florian Philippot of the Les Patriots movement marched through central Paris to demand that France reclaim its destiny from Brussels. The mobilization comes as anger boils over regarding the EU-Mercosur trade agreement, which critics say sacrifices French farmers to benefit foreign industrial interests.
Ça profite à l'Allemagne, c'est fait pour ça de toute façon. C'est fait pour vendre des voitures allemandes en Amérique du Sud et des machines-outils allemandes, comme l'accord avec l'Inde qui est en train d'être signé, est aussi pour vendre des voitures allemandes. Et donc ça va. La contrepartie c'est toujours pareil, c'est que la contrepartie c'est l'agriculture française. C'est utilisé comme une monnaie d'échange contre l'importation supplémentaire de voitures allemandes. Voilà, donc on détruit l'agriculture française. Et comme on n'a pas notre souveraineté commerciale, que c'est l'Union européenne qui l'a à notre place, et ben nous on se fait avoir.
Philippot argued that the only way to save the nation's industry and agriculture is to regain full monetary, diplomatic, and military sovereignty, a move he says is essential for France to move to function as a truly independent country once again. The protests also serve as a sharp rebuke to President Emmanuel Macron. Many participants expressed frustration that the president has prioritized international affairs over the domestic twilight of his administration.
Ah ben il est déjà terminé, il a dit qu'il lâchait, qu'il laissait le gouvernement gérer le peuple français, la France, et lui qui s'occupait de l'international. Donc il n'a rien à faire de la France.
While EU member states cleared the Mercosur deal earlier this year, its implementation remains in legal limbo. The European Parliament has voted to refer the pact to the Court of Justice of the European Union, a move that could stall the agreement for months as judges determine if it complies with EU environmental and labor laws. But for those marching toward Place Vauban, legal delays are not enough. They are calling for a complete exit from the bloc to ensure that French interests are never again used as a bargaining chip on the global stage. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondeja, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, a citywide tactical alert remains in effect for Los Angeles following a second straight night of violent clashes between police and immigration protesters. Authorities declared an unlawful assembly outside a federal detention center as the Ice Out movement gains momentum nationwide. Andrea Santos will give us the details.
Protests against federal immigration enforcement intensified for a second consecutive evening in Los Angeles. What began as a demonstration under the ICE Out slogan, part of a national response to the fatal shootings of Rene Good and Alex Pretty in Minneapolis, turned into a volatile confrontation with law enforcement. At the Metropolitan Detention Center, the scene turned chaotic as agitators used large construction dumpsters to block loading docks and vandalized federal buildings with graffiti. At approximately 9:30 p.m. local time, The Los Angeles Police Department officially declared the gathering outside the federal building an unlawful assembly. To disperse the crowd, officers moved in with batons and fired non-lethal warning shots in an effort to regain control of the area. The intensity of the unrest prompted a citywide tactical alert, a move that allows the department to keep officers on duty throughout the city to respond to further incidents. While local media observed 2 long lines of individuals being detained by police, authorities have not yet released an official statement confirming the total number of arrests. The Los Angeles Police Department says they are continuing to monitor the situation as similar ICE-out rallies are reported in other cities across the country. This has been Andrea Santos, your Global Citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Energy crisis hits Ukraine. Kiev residents took to the streets, lighting bonfires and sharing meals as much of the city remained in darkness amid ongoing power outages. Almar Forzuelo has the story.
As freezing temperatures gripped Ukraine, residents of Kiev took matters into their own hands, gathering around bonfires and eating together during a citywide blackout on Saturday night. People danced around fires, socialized and shared food with each other while much of the city stayed unlit, with only a few homes visibly illuminated. Ukrainian Energy Minister Denis Shmyhal said multiple regions experienced a cascade shutdown triggered by disruptions and transmission lines connecting Romania, Moldova, and western and central Ukraine. The blackout reportedly affected Kiev, Cherkasy, Kharkiv, and other regions. President Volodymyr Zelensky earlier declared a state of emergency, blaming Russian strikes for the energy crisis through Moscow insists its attacks target military facilities, not civilian infrastructure. This crisis has also been compounded by corruption in Ukraine's energy sector, including the high-profile Golden Toilet scandal that saw tens of millions siphoned from contracts, prompting the departure of several top officials. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
Up next, Iran formally designates European armed forces as terrorist groups after the EU blacklists the IRGC. Iranian lawmakers don military uniforms, accusing Europe of blind obedience to Washington. And a fragile ceasefire teeters after deadly airstrikes. The U.S. brokered truce hangs by a thread following one of the bloodiest days since it began. Despite the limited reopening of the Rafah crossing for the wounded, violence continues to surge. More news when Newsline World returns.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito, pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulung at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, saka palalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Tehran strikes back at the European Union's recent move by officially designating the armed forces of European countries as terrorist groups. The decision follows the EU's move to backlist the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC. During a heated session in Tehran, lawmakers donned military uniforms to signal defiance against what they call blind obedience to the United States and Israel. This report.
In a symbolic show of defiance, Iranian lawmakers donned uniforms of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, as Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bakir Kalibaf announced a retaliatory measure against the European Union. Citing Article 7 of Iran's Reciprocal Action Law, Kalibaf declared that European military forces are now viewed as terrorists by the Islamic Republic.
همینجا اعلام میکنم که طبق بند 7 قانون اقدام متقابل در برابر اعلام سپاه به عنوان سازمان تروریستی، ارتش کشورهای اروپایی گروه تروریستی محسوب میشوند و عواقب این اقدام به عهده اتحادیه اروپا خواهد بود.
This follows a unanimous decision by EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas to blacklist the IRGC for its alleged role in suppressing domestic protests. Kalibaf didn't stop at the legal designation. He accused European leaders of shooting themselves in the foot to appease Washington. He insisted that the IRGC is a key counterterrorism force that played a major role in defeating ISIS. The Iranian General Staff also weighed in, warning that Brussels' move reflects a deep hostility and signals a breakdown in future diplomacy. This standoff comes as regional tensions hit a breaking point. U.S. President Donald Trump recently spoke of a massive armada heading to the region, while Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei warned that any U.S.-led war would trigger a wider regional conflict. With Tehran now weighing the expulsion of European military attachés, the path for constructive interaction appears completely blocked.
A fragile ceasefire appears to have reached a breaking point after what Palestinian reports describe as one of the bloodiest days since the truce took hold. Even as Israel begins a trial reopening of the Rafah border crossing for the sick and wounded, a wave of deadly airstrikes have reportedly left the U.S. brokered peace plan hanging by a thread. Ruth Hamilton reports.
Plumes of black smoke rose over the Al-Nazar neighborhood on Saturday after an Israeli strike decimated the Abu Razek family home. Witnesses say the strike hit shortly after the call to prayer, killing 3 people instantly and leaving many others buried under the rubble. It is being called one of the bloodiest days since the October ceasefire began, with Palestinian reports indicating at least 31 people, including 6 children, have been killed in raids across the territory since dawn on January 31st. The attack has sent shockwaves through the community as it follows months of relative calm under a ceasefire agreement brokered as part of U.S. President Donald Trump's regional peace plan.
احنا بنناشد الرئيس ترامب نفسه من البيت الابيض يأثر اكثر من هيك عليهم. يعني اخر جثه قلبوا الدنيا عليها واستلموها، ايش ضل لهم بعد هيك؟ نرجو من كل العالم الحر انه يوقف المجازر اللي بتصير عن ابناء شعبنا.
The Israeli Defense Forces claimed the strikes were a necessary retaliation. In a joint statement with the ISA, the military reported a blatant violation of the truce after 8 terrorists were identified exiting underground terror infrastructure in eastern Rafah. The IDF says they conducted precision strikes targeting 4 commanders and various weapons manufacturing sites to prevent renewed hostilities from Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Yet, amid this violence, a small window of hope remains. On a trial basis, Israel reopens the Rafah border with Egypt, allowing for the limited movement of sick and wounded Palestinians seeking urgent medical care.
رسالتنا يا عم مش فاهم الله، خلاص احنا قاعدين نحكي يعني هدنة وبدنا فتح المعبر، بدنا نسافر، بدنا نشوف حياتنا، وكل يوم شهداء وكل يوم دمار. معي حلونا يا عم.
As the international community watches closely, the success of Phase 2 of the Trump plan now depends on whether the border opening can proceed while the smoke is still clearing over residential neighborhoods. Both sides continue to trade accusations of violating the 20-point plan, leaving the residents of Gaza caught between the promise of an open border and the reality of a renewed war. This has been Ruth Hamilton, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Israeli communities in the north are set to benefit from a major government initiative as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced a sweeping recovery plan alongside the reopening of Kiryat Shmona Airport. Netanyahu has announced a sweeping plan to revitalize northern Israel, unveiling the reopening of Kiryat Shmona Airport after more than 2 decades. The Israeli Prime Minister arrived at the airport on Sunday, greeted by local officials and residents. He spoke from the tarmac, outlining an ambitious plan to bring new rail, highway, and air connections to the region, promising train to Tel Aviv in under an hour. Netanyahu declared that Israel will invest billions in the development of the north. Officials say the government will allocate approximately 10 million shekels annually to support commercial flight operations from the reopened airport. Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu has arrived in Beijing for high-level security talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi as Moscow and Beijing move to coordinate their positions on regional and global security issues. Paul Montibon has the news.
Rolling out the red carpet in Beijing, China's top diplomat Wang Yi welcomed Sergei Shoigu for a series of high-stakes dialogues designated by Russian President Vladimir Putin. The meeting on Sunday follows a flurry of year-end diplomatic activity in 2025, during which China's economy grew to approximately $20 trillion and both nations reaffirmed their no-limits friendship. Chinese state media reported that Wang warned the post-World War II international order is facing growing instability, stressing the need for stronger multilateral cooperation. During the talks, Shoigu reaffirmed Moscow's consistent and unwavering support for Beijing regarding Taiwan, labeling the island an inseparable part of China. Both sides highlighted the importance of continued coordination between Moscow and Beijing as permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. The visit comes amid broader shifts in the global security environment, with Russia and China emphasizing closer consultation on key international issues. Forgotten my beloved country, the Philippines, reporting for Newsline World. This has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
When we return, global turmoil raises alarms for the Philippine economy. The Senate is monitoring rising geopolitical risks as oil prices face potential hikes. Senator Win Gatchalian calls for an inquiry into how tensions with Iran could hit Filipino consumers. And a viral road rage incident sparks a government crackdown. The LTO issues show cause orders after motorists block a fire truck in Cavite. The viral video has triggered public outrage over delayed emergency response. Stay tuned for more news.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubahang sitwasyon. Kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado, 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/4 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon. Ayon sa schedule ng pasyente, ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina, at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
As geopolitical tensions in Iran continue to move global markets, the Philippine Senate is monitoring potential impacts on local oil prices. Senator Win Gatchalian has urged an investigation, warning that unrest abroad could hit Filipino consumers at the pump. Troy Gomez reports.
Political uncertainty in Iran and broader Middle East instability is influencing global crude markets, with oil prices recently hitting multi-month highs amid speculation over supply disruptions. According to socioeconomic and energy analysts, even without an actual disruption in oil production, fear and market speculation alone are enough to push global crude oil prices upward. For Senator Win Gatchalian, the Philippine government must act proactively in monitoring movements in global oil prices, especially since Iran is among the world's largest oil producers. The senator stressed that even if the Philippines does not directly import oil from Iran, local pump prices remain vulnerable because they follow trends in the global oil market. Experts further warned the higher oil prices could lead to increased transport fares, higher prices of basic goods, and added pressure on inflation. The proposed Senate investigation through the resolution filed by Senator Gatchalian will also examine the possibility of speculative pricing, where oil prices increase despite the absence of an actual supply shortage. According to Gatchalian, motorists and consumers must be protected from sudden and unjustified oil prices hikes, especially amid ongoing global uncertainty. For now, there has been no official oil price hike, but the senator emphasized that an early investigation is crucial to prevent the public from being caught off guard should fuel prices rise in the coming weeks. Reporting for Newsline World, Troy Gomez, SMNI News.
A viral video from the Philippines is drawing global attention after a fire truck was blocked by motorists while responding to a blaze in Cavite. The Land Transportation Office has issued show-cause orders against the drivers, highlighting a universal issue faced by first responders worldwide: delays caused by traffic and non-compliant drivers. Sheena Torno reports.
These fire trucks are now going viral on social media as they were responding to a fire in Tanza, Cavite. In the video, the sirens can be heard and the blinker lights were clearly turned on. While rushing to the fire scene, the firefighters' response was delayed. A blue dump truck and a motorcycle cut in and failed to give way. An altercation between the dump truck driver and the fire volunteer was also captured on video.
Wala nga kayong wag-wag eh! Ang lakas ang tama mo ah! Tinawagan ka emergency vehicle ba kayo? Bababa ka pa, mali ka na! Emergency vehicle ba kayo?
The viral video has already reached the Land Transportation Office, or LTO. As a result, LTO Chief Marcos Lacanilao ordered the issuance of a show-cause order against the drivers of the blue dump truck and the motorcycle. The owners and drivers of the two vehicles were directed to appear before the agency at 4 p.m. on February 4. The dump truck driver was ordered to explain why he should not be held liable for failure to yield to emergency vehicles and obstruction. The motorcycle rider was also required to explain due to alleged improper behavior. The LTO has already suspended the driver's license of both the dump truck driver and the motorcycle rider. Should they fail to appear at the hearing, the LTO will impose penalties based on the evidence in its possession. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
In a significant procedural move today, the House Committee on Justice has advanced the first-ever impeachment efforts against President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Voting 46-1-1, the panel officially declared the impeachment complaint filed by lawyer Andre De Jesus to be sufficient in form. Following this, the committee also voted 35-9-1 to declare the Makabayan Coalition's separate complaint sufficient in form. Under House rules, this determination confirms that the filings meet the necessary technical requirements before the committee can proceed to evaluate their sufficiency in substance. The complaints involve serious allegations, including culpable violation of the Constitution and betrayal of public trust, centering on the president's alleged role in surrendering former President Rodrigo Duterte to the International Criminal Court, and the controversial BBM parametric formula used in infrastructure allocations. Committee Chairperson Jervil Ristro previously noted that these complaints would be consolidated for deliberation. This historic process has already triggered a one-year constitutional ban on any other impeachment filings against the president. The committee has suspended today's hearing and is scheduled to resume discussions at 10 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, February 3rd. A heated verbal clash has erupted in the Philippines between a former lawmaker and a palace official over allegations of systemic corruption in Marcos administration. MJ Mondejar tells us more.
Do not be hypocritical and do not turn a blind eye or a deaf ear, because they did nothing about the blatant corruptions of the previous administration. That was the exact statement of Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro, spoken in Filipino, in reaction to the motorcade held on Saturday in Metro Manila, calling for the resignation of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. One of those who led the motorcade was former lawmaker Mike Defensor. According to Castro, Defensor and allies of former President Duterte were allegedly silent on corruption woes during the previous government. This despite Duterte himself admitting that there were ghost projects during his term. Defensor responded by saying that the problem lies with the current administration, not the previous Duterte government. He then asked why Malacanang keeps bringing the issue back to the former government.
Ang sagutin niya dapat, yung korupsyon sa ngayon. May korupsyon ba sa ngayon o wala? Kung meron sa korupsyon sa ngayon, involved ba presidente o hindi?
Defensor then insisted that the administration is allegedly avoiding the return of former Congressman Zaldico to the Philippines. Defensor says Co allegedly holds evidence linked to the president.
Kasi yung sinabi ni Zaldico, hindi yun kwento o hearsay. Yung sinabi ni Zaldico ay kanyang personal knowledge. Siya ang kanilang chairman ng appropriations. Siya yung sinasabing tirador doon sa budget. Bilang chairman ng appropriations, ginagawa niya yung mga kinikwento ko ngayon tungkol sa budget na nangyari sa 3 taon.
Aside from Zaldico, Defensor also detailed other personalities whom he allegedly links to President Marcos Jr. in the corruption issue.
Ngayon, ang sabi ni Zaldico, hindi. Meron kang 100 bilyon, pinapasok mo ka sa akin, nag-deliver ako ng 25 billion. Nagdi-deliver ako sa iyo ng 2 billion a month. Ang sabi ni Sergeant Gutesa, ako yung nagdadala ng pera. Ako yung nagdadala ng pera kay Speaker Martin Romualdez. Sabi ni Yusek Bernardo, nag-deliver ako ng pera kay Traigib, Ulaybar, na Yusek ng Education, at kay Adrian Bersamin. Si Adrian Bersamin ay tao ni Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin. Si Traigib Ulaybar ay tao naman ni Secretary Amina Pangandaman. Personal knowledge ang sinasabi na to. So, ang tanong dito kay Yusek Claire Castro, di ba dapat sagutin nyo to? Bakit involved ang mga taong to? Ito ba pinaikutan ng presidente ninyo at nangyari to at wala siya nakuha pera?
Because of this, Defensor challenged Castro to directly answer the issues being raised against the president. Castro, for her part, responded on whether the palace would investigate the personalities mentioned by the former lawmaker.
Di ba dapat ipatawag lahat ng mga taong to at tingnan? Kaya nila ayaw patawag kasi totoo ang sinasabi ko. At Yusek Claire Castro, totoo ang ginagawa namin na pagsalita at para gawing accountable, no? Gawing para ang presidente ay managot dito sa nangyayaring korupsyon sa ating bansa.
Katulad ng ating sinabi, moving forward po tayo para sa ekonomiya. Ang lahat ng pag-iimbestiga po ay nasa kamay na po yan ng Ombudsman, DOJ at ng ICI.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondihab, SMNI News.
After the break, Blackpink's Lisa is named the new face of Thai tourism, unveiled as the amazing Thailand ambassador to promote the country worldwide. We'll be back after the break.
Ikaw ba ay namomroblema sa taas ng electric bill buwan-buwan? Huwag mag-alala, narito ang ilang paraan upang makatipid sa kuryente. Patayin ang mga ilaw at appliances kapag hindi ginagamit. Sa halip ay gumamit ng natural na liwanag upang makatipid sa kuryente. Tanggalin sa saksakan ang mga appliances kung hindi ginagamit. Iwasan ang paggamit ng maraming appliances ng sabay-sabay. Gumamit ng LED bulbs. Ito ay mas tipid sa kuryente kumpara sa mga incandescent at fluorescent bulbs. Regular na linisin ang mga appliances tulad ng electric fan, aircon vents at refrigerator. Magkaroon ng takdang araw sa isang linggo sa pamamalansya at paglalaba. Gumamit ng energy-efficient appliances. Tandaan, maging wais sa paggamit ng kuryente upang makatipid para mas gumaan ang buhay. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
In our showbiz news, Filipino talent and Thai star power are making waves worldwide. Sparkle artist Arabelle de la Cruz, the Laguna diva, clinched the grand title at South Korea's Veiled Cup Korea, while Blackpink's Lisa steps in as amazing Thailand ambassador to promote Thai tourism. Blake Ann reports.
A new Filipina powerhouse has claimed the international spotlight. Sparkle artist Arabelle de la Cruz, competing under the alias Laguna Diva, was named the grand champion of Veiled Cup Korea, which aired its finale on February 1, 2026. In a unique format where contestants perform behind a veil to keep their identities hidden, Arabelle stunned a star-studded judging panel with a powerful rendition of Michael Bublé's Feeling Good. She secured the top spot with a massive 7,137 points, earning a perfect score of 100 from Tiffany Young and outshining finalists from Thailand, Laos, and South Korea. Fans and fellow artists have flooded social media to celebrate the win, hailing it as a proud moment for the entire nation. From the global stage to the heart of her homeland, Thai superstar Lalisa Manoban, widely known as Lisa of Blackpink, has taken on a monumental new role. In January 28, 2026, Lisa was officially unveiled as the amazing Thailand ambassador by the Tourism Authority of Thailand at the historic Wat Arun Temple. As the face of the Feel All the Feelings campaign, she is guiding global audiences through Thailand's diverse culture, emotions, and unseen destinations. The appointment comes as little surprise to fans, with many saying the recognition was long overdue given Blackpink's global popularity and Lisa's massive international following. Beyond music, Lisa's also expanded into acting, making her debut in the Thailand-based third season of the hit series The White Lotus. With over 100 million followers, Lisa's partnership aims to position Thailand as a premium quality destination, ensuring her homeland remains a top choice for travelers worldwide. And that's all for now. I'm Blake Ed, bringing you the latest showbiz.
Suntory has introduced Tokusui, a new health-focused water in Japan containing HMPA, an ingredient clinically recognized for reducing abdominal and visceral fat, offering consumers a functional beverage that tastes just like regular water. Faith Agustin has the news.
Japanese beverage company Suntory has launched a new functional water product aimed at health-conscious consumers. Suntory's general manager for brand marketing Yuki Noguchi says the company is expanding its popular health drink line Tokucha with the first ever water product called Tokusui.
サントリーの健康飲料ブランドの中で最もメジャーなのがこの特茶というシリーズになります。この特茶という商品をより多くの方に手に取っていただきたいなと考えまして、この度シリーズの中で初めて水の商品特水を発売しました。
The new product contains HMPA, an ingredient recognized for its ability to help reduce abdominal and visceral fat in people with a high BMI.
特水にはですね、機能が認められた特別な成分が含まれています。で、その成分がですね、HMPA という素材でして、BMI が高めの方のお腹の脂肪、内臓脂肪を減らすのを助ける機能が認められている成分が含まれています。
Despite its health benefits, Noguchi says the water tastes just like regular mineral water, making it easy to drink.
HMPA という成分は、ほぼ無味無臭無色です。そのため機能がしっかり認められている成分ではあるのですが、普通の水と変わりなく、水のように美味しくごくごくと飲んでいただくことができます。
The launch comes as the mineral water market in Japan continues to grow, driven by consumers increasingly drinking water for health benefits. Tokusui aims to meet that demand. Suntory hopes Tokusui will attract health-conscious consumers looking for a convenient way to support wellness without compromising taste. This has been Faith Agustin, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
sports, Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James has been selected to his 22nd consecutive NBA All-Star game after being named a Western Conference reserve by NBA head coaches. Meanwhile, England's Justin Rose claimed a dominant victory at the Farmers Insurance Open, setting a new tournament record score at Torrey Pines and securing his 13th PGA Tour title. This report. LeBron James has been selected to his 22nd straight NBA All-Star game. The Los Angeles Lakers star was chosen on Sunday, Monday, Manila time as Western Conference reserve by NBA head coaches. The selection extends James' record as the player with the most consecutive All-Star appearances in NBA history. The 41-year-old forward was not named a starter but remains among the league's elite. The 75th NBA All-Star Game will take place on February 15 in Los Angeles and will feature a new tournament-style format with a world team and 2 US-based teams. Despite dealing with injuries and facing debate over his inclusion, the NBA's all-time scoring leaders averaging 21.9 points, 6.6 assists, 5.8 rebounds, and 1.1 steals in 30 games for the Lakers, who are 29-18 this season. James joins Western Conference reserves Anthony Edwards, Jamal Murray, Chet Holmgren, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Denny Avdia. Eastern Conference reserves include Jalen Johnson, Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns, Pascal Siakam, Norman Powell, Scotty Barnes, and Jalen Duren. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver will name any injury replacements. Starters previously announced include Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Stephen Curry, and Victor Wembanyama in the West, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Brunson, and Cade Cunningham in the East. Meanwhile, England's Justin Rose delivered a dominant performance to win the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines, setting a new tournament scoring record in the process. Rose entered the final round with a 6-shot lead and was never seriously challenged, carding a 2-under par 70 to finish at 23 under, 7 shots clear of the field, and secure his 13th PGA Tour title. The 45-year-old, a former winner in 2019, recorded birdies on the 6th, 8th, and 9th holes, with a lone bogey at the 12th. His total eclipsed the previous tournament record of 22 under, set by Tiger Woods in 1999 and George Burns in 1987. Rose also became the oldest player to complete a wire-to-wire victory on the PGA Tour since 2010, leading the tournament from start to finish. American Pearson Coody posted the best round of the day with a 7-under 65 to tie for second, alongside South Korea's Siwoo Kim and Japan's Ryo Hisatsune. 5-time major champion Brooks Koepka, playing his first PGA Tour event since leaving LIV Golf, finished tied for 56th. And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. Your future depends on when you are now, not your past. Forget your past, bury it, grow up, and move on. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Carlo de la Peña. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.